Hey guys, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hey, how are you?
Yeah, weird. Go on, you go.
Well,
go on.
no,
You're the boss.
No,
go on.
No, you want to steal the show? Go ahead.
I was going to say welcome. I'm here with my good friend and business partner, Paul Martinelli, and we're excited to hear where you are in the program, aren't we? To hear how it's going for you.
And we had a great call already with our friends in Romania.
Yeah.
This morning we had Daniela Nica here, and so we did a chat with our Romanian friends
and Italian
friends. So it was fantastic.
Yeah. This is. I'm a little bit in love with this program, I have to say. It's really powerful
awesome
stuff, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah. And it's come along we know that Think and Grow Rich has such like a really broad appeal.
It's wide appeal.
Because everybody kind of wants.
Everyone loves money.
Everyone wants money. Yeah. But I think people don't, like you said something today when we were talking to the Romanians that you wish we had called this something different, like healthy,
the
wealthy.
secret to life, how to live a healthy, happy, and wealthy life. Yeah, because that's what it is.
Rename it.
We should,
Yes.
The secret to everything, it should be called.
So we should change it so James Allen got the title wrong.
Yeah. But we're improving on it 100 years later. Well, that's progress. That's evolution. He wouldn't mind.
But truly, I think what makes the program great is a community of people. It really does. I mean, you could certainly read the book and get a lot out of it. You could read the book and have one person that you kind of talk with. But to go through it in a community of people from all over the world and see just everybody's different experience and everybody's different level of awareness.
Yeah.
And I think that's the really powerful part of this book is that this book does meet you wherever you are.
It really does. Yeah. It's incredibly useful. Yeah. And preparing to teach something, as we were saying to the Romanians and the Italians, preparing to teach something, you really think about it. And then when you actually teach it and you get feedback from people, you think about it again and you think, well, how did I miss that? Or how did I not think about that? It's a very, very powerful way to learn. And also, what's wonderful about you guys is, and the whole community, wonderful life-giving people who genuinely want to make a difference in the world. It's such a wonderful energy, isn't it? Just sitting here now, connected with people tuning in. It's a wonderful feeling, isn't it?
And it's incredible. I know I was watching Bissy talk about how she's taking a whole group of people kind of through the program and saying, and as soon as we're done, she's going to teach it. Yeah. Which is awesome because there is something. It's also kind of just rewarding to be the person that helps someone have that aha experience, right? Being the person who flips the light switch on. For somebody.
Absolutely. Yeah, very, very rewarding.
So what are we doing today? We're taking some questions.
We're going to drop in with people. We're sharing really. We want to see where people are in the program. What ahas have you had? Whereabouts are you? What's happening for you as you've gone through the program? That sort of thing.
I think we should probably tackle one of probably the most difficult questions that comes up in this program and really in every program, I think. And, it's kind of, I guess if we were to summarize it, it's the why does bad things happen to good people question.
Right.
How did someone attract a seemingly negative thing in their life? And I say that seemingly because that might be where the disconnect is that we label something as negative because we experience it as negative on the physical plane. And certainly on the physical plane, we could see it as negative.
Right.
And Leland Balvanderwall said something that has struck me and stuck with me for years is that the truth isn't always in the appearance of things. And I think everybody probably remembers where they were at different times in life. I remember where I was when the Challenger explosion took place.
Yeah.
I was too young for the assassination of President Kennedy to remember, but I do remember Challenger. I was in Jacksonville, Florida with Curtis Sliwa. We were at like a Denny's restaurant, and I remember, Curtis coming back from a phone call saying, and we spent the rest of the day glued to the TV like most people in the world were.
Right.
And I think all of us remember where we were probably on 9/11 and tragedies. And you have to wonder, how does this happen? And then in the micro, when we have something happen to us in our lives. And I think part of, at least for me, is an understanding that none of us make it off the Big Blue Rock alive anyways. I mean, we all have a date with
it's an earthly pilgrimage, as he calls it, of limited duration, isn't it?
Yeah, we are here for a beginning and an end in our physical body. Our spirit and our soul
is infinite. And yeah. And in that, I think that's why I love this, because that's the context that makes things make sense, or at least opens up the possibility for meaning, isn't it? The infinite context of the spiritual context.
Yeah. And it's one of those that I don't pretend to have the answer, because I don't know that I do. It's a question that I'm still 25 years later. To be honest, I'm still wrestling with. And the way that I've kind of have made sense of it is first off, I recognize that I don't understand. That as much as I can, communicate with the mind of God and tap into the mind of God, my mind is not God. We are not God. And so I can't understand.
Yeah, there's some things that none of us understand probably, and maybe they'll make sense one day, or in in some point
when
in the future.
When we transcend. And so there's the understanding that I don't understand God's bigger plan. And that I know that there's the energy field that I'm in, that I'm certainly causative in, and that I can create. Now that doesn't mean that I can create. I can't fly. I can't step off. You know what I mean? I can't step off. I can't step off the edge of a building and break law. Right. Laws are established. Right. Yeah. They're not broken. And so I know that. So I'm going to be subject to law.
Yeah.
And so even though I'm causative and I'm contributing to the universal pattern of creation, I also know that there's other causes, you and all of you and every single one of us. So I know that there's a collective mind as well.
And the mind of God.
And the mind of God.
Yeah.
And I also know that there's a positive, and I know that there's a negative, and I know that both are present in this universal field, and both are seeking expression and being expressed. And so I can't understand why how one person finds himself on a Tuesday morning on September 11th, deciding to take their kid to kindergarten and not go to the buildings that day, and other people go to the building that day and never make it home. And I don't understand, did they attract that into their life? Did their thinking cause that? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think sometimes we get caught up in the universal expression of and as long as there's a collective consciousness of good or bad, as long as there's this, and I call it evil, the evil that was perpetrated, the thinking that caused 9/11, right? The hate that it caused. What we can do is do what Mother Teresa said, is give no energy to that. When Mother Teresa was asked, will you march against the war in Vietnam? She said, no, but if you have a march for peace, I'll stand. I'll stand for peace. I'll stand for what I want. I won't stand against something. And we see today there's a body of do-gooders, right? That people want to, do good in the world. And they do good in the world by magnifying bad and not realizing that they contribute to that cause. When you're anti-something, right, and you're pushing against something rather than standing for what it is that you want to create, you contribute to the negative energy. You contribute to that energy. And so, again, I think every single one of us has to come to their own conclusion. I don't want to come across as some pontificator that's gonna impose what I think on other people. This is something that I've wrestled with. I still wrestle with it. I think it's something that that is probably the biggest question in my faith, and at the same time, the foundation of my faith.
Right.
That it requires me to have faith.
Yeah.
To be able to understand, and so I know that many of us in this program have had, what appears to be bad things happen in our life, and they are. And in the physical, there's disease, there's crimes, there's all kinds of things that happen. And you had an interesting thing, Roddy, that says, who knows for the person who's experiencing that, when we're watching their physical experience, we see it on the physical plane, but who knows what they're experiencing on their spiritual plane,
right? Yeah.
And so how do you
I think
map of the world on this?
The only way it makes sense to me is with the spiritual context. Otherwise, how on earth can you have one child born into one family or one part of the world and another one born somewhere else, and one has every advantage and one has,
every
nothing.
disadvantage.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense unless you put it into an infinite spiritual context, I think. So that's part of it. Also, I think there's things that we don't understand, and maybe we will one day, and maybe they'll all make sense that way. I think the way it's confusing with this book is because he makes it sound very simple and straightforward. We are weaving our circumstances.
Yeah.
But then when you bring other people into the mix and God, I think weaving our circumstances, we're co-creating with God, aren't we?
Yeah.
And we're co-creating sometimes with other people. And so whenever you're co-creating, we know, just from you can't always have it your way, or it doesn't go the way you want it to, or
That's right.
sometimes things go in a different direction for reasons you understand or reasons you don't. So I think we can just do our best, can't we? So I don't think we necessarily create those terrible circumstances, and certainly not for other people.
Right.
And he says in here, that your circumstances at any particular time are not a reflection of your entire character, just some teeny bit of it, perhaps, that may need something shaping or work on or something. And
I think that one of the important things for me on my journey is that I don't understand it all. But I do understand what I can understand, and I do know what I can affect. And so, I've shared this story before, but my father passed away of pancreatic cancer, and so my father. Can I just spend 2 minutes on this?
Go ahead.
So my father abandons my mom and our family when she's 3 months pregnant. And I have no recollection of my father in my life, till I'm 7 or 8 years old. And then he's just the guy that comes once a month at 6 o'clock in the morning, cuts the grass, leaves some checks on the countertop, and leaves. No interaction. Never a happy birthday, a Merry Christmas, a happy things. Never a phone call. Never an I love you. Nothing. Just abandoned the family. But isn't it interesting? Abandoned the family, but still in that city. Right, still living there, and I kind of connect with him when I'm 13 years old, and we begin to kind of establish this new kind of relationship. And over maybe the next 12 years, as I study this kind of material, I go through a process of forgiveness. I go through this process of understanding that I don't understand everything, that I don't know his whole story, and I seek understanding, and then. I'm in my mid-30s, and my father gets diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. By this time, I'm close to my father. And we knew with his diagnosis that he was probably going to die of pancreatic cancer or something connected to it, right? And although we had a preferred different outcome, likely that was going to be the outcome, was that he was going to pass. And so now it was a matter of how was he going to pass? Like in what state was he going to pass? And my sister, who's a nurse, immediately kind of went into nurse mode and said, let's try every kind of therapy, and let's go natural, and let's go juices, and let's do this and let's do that, and maybe there's a bee sting clinic down in Mexico. All the alternative, and you got to understand, my father was a guy,
right,
who lived in a construction truck, ate potato chips for breakfast. You know what I mean? He wasn't going to start drinking kale and carrot juice. That's not what he wanted to do. And so, I sat with my sister and my brothers, and I said, look, I think the most important thing is that, we do know that people do live longer when they're happy. We know that our vibrational state of happiness, of love, it has healing principles. And so I think it's more important that we allow Daddy to kind of pick how he wants. And so my father said he would be willing to go through the first couple of rounds of chemo if it would buy him a month or two. But the minute it started to get to a point of diminishing returns, he didn't want any parts of it.
Right.
And I said, to my father, I said, what we should do is, let's have you, pick your plan, how you want to live all the days of your life, and let's move to a place of gratitude. And we became grateful for pancreatic cancer, Because there is an alternative to pancreatic cancer. It says your father went to bed and never woke up.
Yeah.
And you never had, you didn't get, I got 6 to 9 months with my dad.
Right.
And, this is a time I think, when we might have just started to meet. This is early, maybe 2006. So I was traveling as a speaker.
Yeah.
I was flying a lot. And so I would divert every flight into Pittsburgh. And so I saw my father more than I ever saw him in my entire life. There were months where I spent more time with my father in that 1 month than I had in my entire cumulative life with my dad. And had it not been for pancreatic cancer, I would have never made that time. I would have never had that time. If he would have just died of a heart attack or a car accident or something else, we would never have been able to say the things that we needed to say. And so pancreatic cancer became something that we could be grateful for. And we didn't understand why, but we know that this is a physical pilgrimage.
Yeah.
And that our physical bodies will return to source, right? They will, the ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And our spirit is forever seeking oneness with the Father. Our soul will return. And so there's this separation between our spiritual being and our physical being. Our physical being, we're a milk carton, right? We've got an expiration date.
Right.
And we don't know when that date is.
Yeah.
But for my father, he kind of had an idea when that date was going to be.
Yeah.
And we chose to approach that with a blessing and see that as a blessing and call it good. And we could know what his wishes were. And we had a fantastic time. And the really cool thing is I saw this book come alive. And then Roddy and I have done a study called Man's Search for Meaning, based on the book Man's Search for Meaning. And it's called Me and Meaning. And in that study, Viktor Frankl, who was a Jewish psychiatrist in Auschwitz, he said that the prisoners going through some of the most horrific kind of torture could live, and they would live starving literally to death, and they would pick a date in their mind that they would live to. And then, maybe it was Yom Kippur, maybe it was Hanukkah, maybe it was somebody's birthday, and then they would die in scores that next day. And so when my father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, we had never, ever, as a family, had a holiday together. And so he wanted to have Thanksgiving dinner. He lived in Pittsburgh, and my brother David lives in Morgantown, West Virginia, which is only about an hour away, where his grandchildren are. And so all of us made the decision that we were going to come together for Thanksgiving. And leading up to Thanksgiving, my wife Kelly, at the time, and I were there. And we were there like the Thursday before, so a week before. And my father was eating Chinese food, and he was eating pizza, and you would never know my father had pancreatic cancer. And he wasn't going through chemo anymore. And he was as healthy for a dying person as you could be.
Right.
He actually he used to love to go to kind of the nickel slot machines, and he won $5,000 on a nickel. Like the odds of winning
What's
money.
a nickel? 10 cents?
No, a nickel, 5 cents.
5 cents.
He puts 5 cents in, puts a roll of nickels in.
Right.
Each pull.
And wins $5,000.
$5,000. I think all the lights going off, and we've got a picture of my father holding $20 bills. He's holding it up, and he's fanning it out. He's got the biggest, Cheshire cat smile on his face, and it was like the time of his life. And then, we get in my rent-a-car, we drive down to West Virginia, and there we are. And if you see the pictures of my father on Thanksgiving Day, you see my father die. You see his spirit leave his body. You just, like, the pictures in the morning, we made it like halfway through dinner, and that's all he could do. We had to carry him up the steps. We put him to bed. The next morning, we carried him down the steps, put him in the car, drove him to Pittsburgh, right to the hospital, and he died the following Tuesday. So we drive him to the hospital on Friday. He dies on Tuesday, and he dies with his 4 children around his bed holding him. Mm. And it was the most beautiful thing that you could see. And here it is, he chose his date. He chose his time. He chose his, so I don't understand everything, but I know that we get to choose how we respond.
Yeah.
We get to choose how we respond, and we can choose to respond in anger and bitterness. We can hate God. We can hate other people. We can hate the world. There's all kinds of those things that we could do. And those are certainly choices, and maybe appropriate choices, in the first phase. Mm-hmm. But we know that resentment energy is a killer. Mm-hmm. It eats you alive. It causes you to withdraw your natural expression of who and whose you are, and so I'm still wrestling with this. So for those of you who've asked these kinds of questions, I don't know that Roddy and I can give you an answer. We can give you our perspective. I think it's something that we're still, the jury's still out on.
Like you said, it's the responding, isn't it? I remember when Eliza was born, in lots of religions around the world, or lots of minds, that people would abort a baby like Eliza because of her genetic abnormality. And some views would be that it's punishment for,
something you
did. And even some very close friends, would say to me and Susan, you what have you done to deserve this? You've really been dealt a bad hand here. And it was a shock, but we've come to, we wouldn't change it. She's a blessing to us.
I couldn't imagine my life without Eliza.
But she's also she's here on her own journey. So she's but she's a blessing to us. She's a blessing to all of our kids. Our kids are nicer people because of Eliza. Somehow it all kind of works. I think. You know.
Yeah.
So all we can do is kind of choose how we respond.
It is a personal
sometimes.
journey, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So very interesting. Yeah.
So as a man thinketh, right? You chose to have this journey with Eliza. You and Susan have chosen to have this and build your thought around how you wanted to go through this.
Yeah.
And you've chosen to say, this is going to make our family stronger. It's going to make our children love and understand love at a different level, and acceptance and tolerance and all kinds of things.
Yeah, and disability and
it has.
Yeah.
It's been a blessing.
Yeah, right.
And anybody who spends 3 seconds in the presence of Eliza realizes, or in a good moment. Yeah, because I know she's had some bad moments. Never with me though.
Right. Yeah.
She loves Paul. So.
You give her too much chocolate.
Yeah. So. So did you there were people in the queue?
Yes, I think people maybe are confused as to whether because
because I went too long.
No, I think that was good, wasn't it? I thought it was very interesting. Okay. Yeah, it's a great.
Well, we are taking questions, so
we thought we would do sharing. Okay, so let me. All of those of you, they're probably joined back in again now.
Jumped off,
what I've done is I've prepared this very helpful.
Look at you.
Can they see that, Andrew?
So smart.
Yeah. This is the number for you to call in, and this is the code. And you can jump in and we'll be able to hear you.
And you press, once you dial in, if you'd like to share an aha moment, here's what we ask you to do. Is we ask you to go ahead and take a minute now and write out what you would like to say. And then read it and kind of time it. And see if you can say it in 60 seconds. And if it takes you longer than 60 seconds, edit it down. Because we'd like to be able to get to as many people as we can, and so we know that this is an emotional sometimes journey, and it's an insightful journey, and we don't want any one person to kind of monopolize the call.
We want it to, and that's why I think sharing is nice. It's nice for us to know where you are in the program, but everyone can benefit from your ahas, can't they?
Yeah, and so share a takeaway that you've had on the program. Let's show the number one more time.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to. Here's the number. 712. It's an American number. 712-432-0075. And your PIN code is 355754. That's 355754. And that's a hash. What do you call it?
Pound.
A pound on the end.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to ask you, if you don't mind, because I need to dial in so that we can hear them and they can hear us. Can you just talk about the lifetime access? Because some of the program has gone dark now. And also we're making the license available today for the first time.
I'll do that while you work.
Yeah.
While you do all the work.
I do all the work. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let me have that. And let me just kind of hold that up while I talk so that you can, again, if you'd like to share, dial in. So yeah, we're now making the license to teach this available. So if you're going through the program and you would like to join our teaching team, if you'd like to be able to bring this to your clients, we've created an entire resource kit for you that includes the teaching scripts, a script for word of what each of the teaching videos have, that also has Roddy's summary videos included, and you'll get the rights to be able to teach that and all the kind of the cool graphics that go with that. You'll get also all of the marketing messages and the marketing memes that we've created for the program. So the entire kind of resource kit to be able to bring this to your clients and to your community. And if you'd like to learn more, there's a way for you. If you go to the portal, I'm sure Roddy or Susan or Heather or someone who understands how we've done this.
Susan will post it in the Facebook group.
Susan's going to post something in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
There'll be a link for you to click on to learn all the all the kind of rights, but you're able to teach it all over the world. We do have some restrictions around the license. We want you to kind of teach it at the same price that it's being offered by everybody else, so that it's not the wild, wild west out in the marketplace, right? So we've got some restrictions around that. But it also comes with a monthly access to a live call that either Roddy or myself or sometimes Heather.
It's actually every 2 weeks.
It's every 2 weeks.
Pretty much every 2 weeks.
So every 2 weeks, it's our license holder call. So, every 14 days you'll have access to a live Q&A with us on how to bring this program to your clients, how to sell it, how to market it, how to manage a tribe of people who might be going through the program. And the one requirement is that you do have to have a lifetime access to the program. So if you haven't yet bought lifetime access and you'd like to have access to all the lessons forever, the first step is buy lifetime access. And then once you buy lifetime access, if you'd like to upgrade and then join our teaching team, you can do that as well. And again, all the resources put together.
So just I think the way that Susan's done it is she's offered a license that includes that. And everyone that's already bought lifetime access, she's emailed them, and many people have bought it this morning already.
Perfect.
So if you have lifetime access, she's sent you an email with a different price.
Okay.
And then the license for those that haven't bought lifetime access includes it, I think.
Oh, awesome.
So now we said this to the Romanians this morning. We really believe in this book and this the material, and we'd love people to take this message out. So we've priced this as our most, I think, our best value. Certainly our least
Susan's
expensive.
no longer talking to me.
Yeah, that's right. It's the cheapest license we've ever offered.
Lowest
isn't it?
price.
Lowest price.
Best
the best
value.
investment.
The best
it's packed with value. And so it's $299 for the killer offer during the program. So $299 for the license, $399 for the license, and lifetime access.
Yeah.
So we really want people to take the message out there.
And if you're following kind of our model, we're charging lifetime access for how much?
$99 during killer offer price.
Yeah. So at $99, if you think about making an investment of $300. The question is, could you find 3 or 4 people who would pay you the $100 to go through the study? I think it's a great return on investment.
When I first saw Paul in March 2006, I then signed up after that for the forerunner to JMT for the program. It was $13,000, and I think it was 3 months. It might have been 4 months. 3 months, I think it was, until the training took place. And because I'd invested $13,000 in the program, I worked like crazy during those 3 months to be prepared for the thing, because I wanted to get the value. And I got my $13,000 of value before I even got there, because my understanding of the material that I was studying with such intensity and fervor went up so much. It was incredible. It really was. Yeah. So I think preparing to teach something
is
so rewarding for you personally. Yeah. Obviously, it's rewarding for other people as well.
Well, you understand it at a completely different level.
You really do. You really do. Yeah, and we're not just saying that because we want you to buy the license. It's it's true.
And for those of you that are already speakers and coaches and trainers, we know many of you are part of the John Maxwell team. If you are part of the John Maxwell team, and you buy the lifetime access and the teaching license for this program, we have a wonderful bonus for you, where we're taking that chart, the 7 levels of character, and we're overlaying the spirit of opulence to it, the teaching by Thomas Troward. It is a phenomenal companion teaching to this. And when you take the 7 levels of character teaching and add in the spirit of opulence, it will blow you away.
Yeah,
and
it
will be a bonus teaching that you'll be able to give your clients. You could use that as, you could teach that and then sell people into the study, and they will join like crazy. It's going to be a fantastic, we've been writing that content for a while now, and when I think we'll probably record it within a couple of weeks of the final. So if you're part of the John Maxwell team, and you buy this license, you should know that there's going to be a special bonus that you're going to receive. And for those of you that would like more information on becoming associated with the John Maxwell team and the license, if you just put in the comments below, how do I join the JMT? Susan or Heather or Holly will reach out to you and connect you with one of the program coordinators. But this is a phenomenal program. Your clients will love it. And if you are already a speaker, a teacher, a trainer, or a coach, this program is something that you can add in as a way to put a client on a 90-day journey. We chose to do it in 12 days. This could certainly be a 12-week program where you release 1 video per week that you teach, and then have a sharing call each week. You could do it that way. You could use it as a bonus. You could give it away. If somebody buys coaching from you, you could give them access to your program. If you're working with a company and they hire you to come in and do a workshop or an ongoing training program with them, you could use this as a bonus. That you could do it. So there's some restrictions on how we have you do this. But if you click on the link below, Heather or Holly or Susan will share with you all of those details.
Yeah, well, one other thing for the license as well, that Morgan asked a great question. He messaged me and asked about, he's setting up a home studio, and how do you do a home studio? Now, we're obviously in a professional studio now,
sure.
But I've over the years put together, so many different makeshift studios in different spaces around the world.
All of them were great, though. They worked, yeah.
And so what I thought I'd do is record an hour-long kind of tutorial on how you can kind of wing it in your, because it's important to have space between you and the background. It's worth getting a professional background. You need to have, external mics, lighting, and the camera and all of those things. But also things like, if you want to include PowerPoints, I found a way that you can do that free of charge with free software that you can download from the internet, so that you can click between, you talking and, and put your PowerPoints in as well. So all of those things I thought I'd record for you. And then we'd make it part of, certainly for the license holder community. So it would be like a program for them. And then,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe we'll also add to that things like, we're definitely going to do that one. I'm going to definitely do that one. But I was thinking, as you've been talking, we should also show them how we do like the Facebook Lives and those types of things, just so that you've got better tools to go out and do it yourself.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing for just the license hub calls.
Yeah,
and I'll share also that one of the things that as you think about having this license and being able to bring it to your clients, you may choose to have our videos be the teaching videos. You may choose, and we'll share with you an access. If you think, I would love to teach it, but I don't know that I'm ready to teach this maybe deeper content, we can share with you a way that if you own the license, where you would be able to kind of give them access to our videos, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You could literally have your clients watch the video teaching. You can do an intro. You can do then a summary call, and you can do the summary videos like Roddy's done, and then you can have a sharing call, and you can really build a really robust program where, we're the three of us, you and Roddy and I are kind of co-teaching the program. So let's go ahead and jump to the...
Yes.
Yeah, we've got some...
Yeah.
So for those of you who are on the call, if you dial into this number, and maybe if our admin team can kind of keep that number alive so people can join, you press *6, and that'll put you right into the queue. And again, we're asked that you kind of be prepared. Is the queue open up?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you press *6, it'll put you right into the queue. So if you'd like to share an aha moment, if there's a takeaway, if there's an insight that you've had, if there's, we've kind of jokingly, talked about which is our favorite chapter so far. And
I wasn't joking.
I know.
I'm being serious.
Yes. So you want to go ahead and
yes.
open us up?
I don't have my glasses, so it's difficult to see, but I think this is to Zach. So let's unmute you, and thank you. Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is it Jack?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Jack, how are you?
Doing great.
Good. Is that coming through for you, Andrew, the sound?
He's turning.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm just talking to Andrew, saying, can he hear it okay? Come through.
We're good. Go ahead, Jack.
Nice and loud.
Good morning. All right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds like an echo, but that's all right. If you guys can hear me, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, this is great. I've been enjoying it, and I am just putting together the one from the last license and getting ready to do that, and just wanted to give you a little bit of update. So if you want everybody to put out that positive energy we talk about, remember I saw you at the turning point about the thing they found in my head. They're taking it out next Thursday. So,
oh, wow.
It reminds me of our friend Ed.
Right.
Well, we'll be praying for you, Jack.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Incidentally, the echo may be you're hearing us on Facebook and on Zoom and on free conferencing, so you might want to mute your Facebook.
Yeah.
I think I do, but that's okay. I don't.
So you go in on Thursday. So. You go in Thursday, Jack?
Yep, I go on Thursday, 5:00 in the morning. And
all right.
They said in 24 hours or so I'll be out. And
super.
Hopefully everything's going to be great.
So what's the thought or the idea that as a community you would like us to hold for you, Jack?
That what they find is just it's supposedly about the size of a marble. That it is just a piece of something that's not affecting anything, and they take it out and it heals very quick, and I can have no issues and very little pain, and be back and running within a few weeks.
All right, so yeah, let's clean it up a little bit so that there's no pain, right? We don't even want very little. We'll go for no. Let's hold the image of no pain, and that the doctors go in, they find this thing completely benign, and you're backing up on your feet with perfect healing. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Right on. Well,
and it's the perfect book for that.
Yes,
to be working with.
You bet. Well, thank you, Jack. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be holding you in prayer.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I think he was going to share an update. Was he where you were, or was that it at the beginning?
I think that's what he was sharing. Yeah.
Well, at the beginning, yeah.
Okay,
just
great.
Put together the last course, and I'm going to get this one because I see the value in these. I've been working with a few people, and that's definitely an easy way to sit at your desk and make some money. The Kajava thing is a great thing, so that's all great.
Great. Thanks, Jack. We'll be thinking of you.
Thank you.
Send you love.
All right.
Thanks for jumping in.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Sharika. Hey, Sharika, how are you?
Sharika?
Hey, Paul. Hey, Roddy. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Great.
Good.
I'm doing great. Just wanted to share with you all my insight on what I'm going through with the study right now.
Okay.
Okay. Because of the study, I've been more aware of my limited beliefs, so I can recognize them almost immediately. But where I'm at right now is I'm trying to learn how to break through from just being aware of it, but also of overcoming it. because I'm realizing, just because I'm aware, it don't go away overnight, of course. So any thoughts or any advice on, I can get a burst of energy and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do because I recognize it, but then I see myself slipping back, and I don't want to go back. I want to continue to move forward.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Why don't you go to mute so we don't have the background? Well, thank you. Thanks for being part of the study, Sharika. Here's a couple of things that I've learned, and I'll let Roddy speak into this, is one is it's a beautiful thing, awareness, right? Once you become aware, recognize, thank you, Father, for making me aware, because there was a time in your life where you weren't aware of this. So, the fact that you are aware is huge, and it's a big win. And so rather than, and I'm not suggesting you're doing this, but many people do this, they become aware that they were focusing on something negative or, thinking negatively, and then they kind of beat themselves up. And so, what you want to do is you want to become aware that you were, thinking incorrectly, thinking in a way that doesn't serve you, and say, thank you, Father, for making me aware. And then what I would encourage you to do is think, what would be the polar opposite of this thought? If I had the power to be a causative force, if I had dominion over this belief or this thought, what would be the polar opposite of that? And how would I then express that here and now? So if I'm thinking negative, or I've got a negative self-judgment, or whatever the case is, what would be the polar opposite of that expression? And then from that new awareness, how can I express that here and now? In other words, without me requiring that the conditions or circumstances change, without me requiring that the people change, what can I do from a place of empowerment here and now? So if I can move from kind of the bigger picture, recognize, who I am, what do I believe and value, what am I resourced with in this present moment, and how can I express that resource here and now? Rather than coming from kind of the condition and circumstance, we want to come from this higher level of awareness. And I think if you'll do that, now, the challenge with this isn't for wimps, right? And the challenge is that this takes time. That's why, Roddy and I've taught so many times that, thinking isn't the easiest thing in the world to do. It's why so few people do it. And it's why so few people are, because it's so much easier just to kind of default and let things happen rather than go out and do the work necessary to cultivate in that garden of possibility, to step onto that fertile field of possibility and do the necessary plowing and seeding and weeding and nurturing of the seed. And so when you are blessed with the awareness that you're having this illusion of your separateness, of your oneness with God, this illusion that somehow you are less than perfect, the illusion that somehow you are a victim of condition and circumstance, you thank God for that awareness. Thank you, Father. What would be the polar opposite of that expression? And what can I do here and now in the bigger picture, knowing in the full awareness of who and whose I am, understanding what I value and I believe, looking at my capabilities and resources, how can I express that belief here and now? And I think when you interrupt your pattern like that, you recognize that the negative thought and the negative belief that drives that thought never goes away, but it decreases in its amplitude of vibration. And the way it decreases in amplitude of vibration isn't necessarily us giving no thought to it. It's us giving thought and life to something else, actually putting our life force. There's much more positive creation and positive transformation of that negative energy when we actually choose something positive to create rather than kind of say, well, I'm just, I'm going to ignore the negative.
Yeah, that's
does
good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think one way to think about this is think of like a phobia, because most people can understand a phobia, can't they? If you've got a fear of flying, for example, you might think that flying is dangerous because you're feeling the fear in your body. But then somebody might share with you, actually, statistically, it's probably a lot safer than many things you do every day, like getting into your car, for example. And so you've got then intellectual insight when you gather that information. You're like, oh, flying is not dangerous. But that doesn't change how you feel when you see the plane or when you think about flying, because that intellectual insight needs to be emotionally integrated, and that's physically changing the belief. So the insight, if you think at the top of stickman, and the belief as being in the bottom, your character, as we've been studying in this program, then that needs to be changed. And as Paul said, really, that belief is controlling everything. It's controlling your emotions, your thinking, your logic, your reasoning, your expectations. Everything is being controlled by that belief. That needs to change. And really taking action, like you said. Yeah. What can you do? You've got to do something different to see things different. And just like with the plane example, you've got to fly. Yeah. Maybe it's baby steps, and you start with a simulator. Maybe you start,
maybe
just
you go to
gradually.
The airport.
Yeah.
Maybe you go to the airport
but
first.
Gradually, you need to desensitize yourself to the emotions from that, which is the emotional integration. So the insight is the first step. And then, you recognize the limiting beliefs. Now you've got to act contrary to what the belief wants you to do to gradually change that.
Well,
good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for being part of the program. And
thanks, Sharika.
Thanks for sharing, Sharika.
Okay, let's go to, this is a wireless caller.
Okay. Welcome.
Hey, who's this?
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
This is Leslie Robertson, West Virginia.
Hey, Leslie.
I'm fine. How are you today?
Great, thanks.
Okay. Just wanted to come on and say that I'm just totally enjoying this program, and that I just wanted to share my one main aha moment that I've had.
Okay.
It was back on day 5 when Roddy said, are you turning your back on the things you don't want and moving towards that which you do want, or are you always looking back at what you don't want and thinking about it all the time? And that's been me. I'm constantly looking back at my fears, and I think that's what's been keeping me from moving forward. So now I just have to change my thinking and just focus on moving forwards towards what I want.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great insight, Leslie. Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
So what's one way that you can do that for yourself right now? What's one thing that you could do that when you become aware that you're giving negative energy or negative focus on something that's holding you back, what's one thing that you could do that would trigger this shift in your perception?
I'm not really sure. I know what I've been trying to do every morning is I do a gratitude journal.
There you go.
So that I'm always, telling myself all the things that I'm grateful for, the people around me, and the fact that I have the skills and capabilities to move towards my goals. So every day, that's what I've been trying to do, to put in my frame of mind, so that I feel that if I keep feeling it and looking forward, that I won't keep looking back.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you, Leslie. We can go to mute. And here's what I would say, Leslie, also is you might want to, in addition to the gratitude journal, you might want to begin to language this idea of up until now I used to. Up until now, I used to focus on, the negative things for way too long. And now my awareness and perception has changed, and now I move to a place of gratitude. And so it doesn't sound like it's like that would make a big difference, but energetically, if we speak of the future positive and recognize that we're not just in transition, that we've transcended, right? We've already made the transition. So, up until now, I used to do this. And now I've chosen, now because of a shift in my awareness, now because of a shift in my perception, I've now chosen to move to a place of gratitude, and now I do this. And I think whenever you catch yourself focusing on kind of looking back, and you catch yourself, you say, wow, isn't that interesting? Up until now, I would always do that. Up until now, I would lack the awareness and perception that I have now of my ability to move to a place of gratitude. And so in this moment, here and now, I choose to be grateful for whatever it is. And I think when you do that, you take the shift that you're feeling already, Leslie, and I think you raise that frequency so much more, yeah? Gratitude is such a powerful... I'm so glad that you fell on that. I mean, it's awesome. Well done.
Yeah, because you did a section at the beginning of Turning Point where you were quoting somebody, and it was something along the lines of when you look around and notice what's going on or see the world, free of judgments or whatever, the only appropriate response is gratitude. Yeah, it really struck with me. Yeah, if you can get into the habit of that, doing that from a young age. Oh, Susan put together like a gratitude journal, didn't she? Which is like
awesome. For
just
kids.
like happened overnight. I know.
And she said it was a direct result. It was really interesting because we had dinner last night, and she was sharing how this idea came into her mind, and I think we've all had ideas. Yeah. And like all really good ideas, it wasn't convenient for her.
Yeah.
And so as soon as the idea came into her awareness, she started to say, yes, but.
Right.
Yeah, but, that is a really good idea. And maybe after the study, because we're busy. And then she caught herself and she said, you know what? The true conditions and circumstances don't really matter. It's the thought that I'm choosing that I'm busy. It's the thought that I'm choosing that I can't do this. And she said, she kind of moved to this, if I were to do it, what's one thing I would do? Well, I would start here, and so she did that. And then the next step, and then the next, and before you know it, she's got a really beautifully designed.
Yeah.
And not only does she have a great tool that met the original purpose, here's what's beautiful about what Susan's done. And I think is just so powerful for all of us to learn, is as a spiritual being inspired with this idea, because Susan never had that idea before. So where did that idea come from? Right? That idea was inspired, in spirit. So Susan obviously tapped into the mind of God, became aware of an idea that had always been here. Originally, what she's thinking is I need to solve this problem with Louie and with Leon. I want to have this, I want to have this journal to get them writing over the summer. Then it moves to, I know what I could do is I could tie this in with gratitude. That's great. Then the idea continues to expand, and she said, you know what, we could sell these. Then the idea expands, and oh my goodness, we could give all the money to Eliza May's Foundation.
That's right,
and so you take what was originally an idea and you see spirit express itself through Susan in literally, I think all of that probably took 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, 10 seconds for the thought, but within a few days.
Yeah, my 4 copies are coming today. They're going to be delivered today. It's on Amazon for sale already.
And and this might be, and probably will be, the #1 youth journal for gratitude.
Right.
And how did it come? It came from one idea.
Yeah.
And truly, you'll hear Roddy and I teach this all the time. What is this table? What is this computer? What are these microphones? Well, everything you see in the physical world is the unrejected idea of a person. And so when you order your gratitude journal for your niece, your nephew, your son, your daughter, your grandchild, and they're holding it, recognize what you're really holding. On 1 degree of truth, yes, you're holding a gratitude journal, but at a higher degree of truth, you're holding on to the unrejected idea.
Right.
That was spiritually created through the infinite mind of God and the finite mind of man coming together, and Susan choosing not to abort the idea, but to give it birth, and she gave it birth second by second by second by second. We say that life is a fight for territory. At any point in time in those first 12 seconds, she could have made with an agreement with why it wouldn't work. And there was all kinds of reasons why she shouldn't have done it.
Right.
She is too busy. She's got a bum shoulder. She doesn't need another project to do. Yeah. She doesn't want to have to try to, there's all kinds of reasons why she shouldn't do it, all kinds of reasons why it wouldn't work. And she just chose to think of the reasons why she could and would.
Yeah, and a few days later, it was on Amazon and people were buying it.
And people were buying it. And so, Susan...
It's amazing. Proud of you, babe.
Yeah, put a link down. Yeah, because... And she showed it to me on the phone.
Lane
on the
designed
phone.
all the. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, well, Lane
really
designed it. Come
yeah,
on.
exactly.
It's gonna be
Lane's busy, but she got behind the
Lane
idea as well. She
yeah.
jumped in and said,
and
I'd
you're
love to help.
helping the Eliza May Foundation. Why don't you just real briefly speak about the Eliza May Foundation?
Yeah, so we adopted the idea of tithing from Paul and John and decided we were going to tithe. And so we also had the idea that we were going to do something when Eliza was born. For one of the things is with disabled children, is they're like high maintenance. It's difficult. It's hard work being a parent of a, depending on the disability, but it's hard work. And so in England, being a socialist country, as Paul calls it, they have quite a lot of support actually for, if we had a babysitter come so we could go out for a meal once a week, and there's all kinds of respite care and all those kinds of things. But not as much as we would like. And in America, I think, depending on where you live, again, not as much. So we had this idea that we'd start a charity one day called the Eliza May Foundation, and we would collect money and we would try and provide resources for parents, of disabled children. And then when we kind of started tithing, we decided, well, we're going to put our money in anyway. And, every now and again we put a link up and people donate and add to it. So we're building a pot of money for good to do, and it's in the community 5. What's the number for the charity thing?
501c3.
Yeah. So it's like a registered charity. So it gets spent on good, causes. And so it was a natural next step for Susan to say, oh, well, all of the proceeds from the book we'll just pay into the Eliza May Foundation. So it provides services for children and parents of children.
As you said this, an idea came to me. And so why don't we do this? I'm going to match the first $5,000. So here's what I'm going to do is if you buy one, I'll buy one. And I'll give the copy. When you buy one for your grandson or granddaughter, your niece, your nephew, your son or daughter, when you buy one, I'll buy one and we'll give it through the Eliza May Foundation to an underprivileged child who wouldn't be able to get one.
Yeah.
And I'll do that for the first 5,000. So we'll get 5,000 will go to 10,000. So when you're buying yours,
well, I'll add 5,000 to that as well then. So we'll put 5,000 in on top of that.
Well, there you go. So when you buy one, you're actually buying 3, right? Because you're buying one, Roddy's going to match. I'm going to match it. And
fantastic.
So there you go.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
And that's how you think about how energy expands.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool. So go ahead and click on the link and Susan will put it up. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, thanks, Leslie.
Yeah, thanks, Leslie. You birthed Look what you did, Leslie, right? From starting with gratitude. Way to go.
Let's go to Joe. Hey, Joe, out in California, I think.
I just hold on. I just have to
Hang on, Joe.
Leslie wasn't even a thought in Susan's mind.
Right.
And Leslie wasn't even thinking this.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the beautiful thing. And so
energy's flowing.
Yeah. And so just as we said, we can't understand how sometimes these negative things happen because of other people.
Yeah.
Susan could never have thought, oh my goodness, we're going to raise $15,000 and we're going to do that today, I think.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure. Yeah.
She would never have thought that. And Leslie didn't know that she was contributing to this idea.
Yeah. But
now Leslie's part of this part now of it's just so cool.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Hey, Joe.
Hey, hi guys.
Hey.
I knew that this was the program that I've been waiting for, and I just want to tell you thank you so very much, because it's amazing, which of course I know you guys have put a lot of effort into it, and you know how amazing it is, but I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks,
before I do my thing, and I wrote it out like you told me to. So I'm going to read.
Okay.
And it's probably a little jumpy, but
that's okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm Joe from California. Okay. I spent a lot of time trying to be loved and accepted, and I've shown up. It has shown up in many ways, but it has really held me back because I do what I think I'm supposed to do, and at the same time, I haven't had the relationship with God that I could have, because it's just led me to not believing that He would really provide for me or care for me. And a lot of that has just been, my relationship with my father and things like that affected it. And I got that, and I was like ready to move on, but something was still like pulling me back. And it's been keeping me from what I really want to do. And people have had a greater influence over me than I realized. And I think that that's been one of the big breakthroughs for me, in the sense more of admitting it to myself than actually not knowing it. So anyway, I'm trying to get going forward. I want to trust more and fear less. And I've been like frozen recently. Like it's like my whole personal life. Just there's a lot of chaos going on, and a lot of almost stagnant. My ability to imagine has become more difficult. But the great news, all of this, is that I'm learning to really embrace the chaos. And it has given me the opportunity to grow closer to God and to embrace that growth that's happening right now in this crazy time. I'm still struggling, but I've learned that it's okay, that this is a really good time. I don't know, in a way, I feel like I'm giving birth, which I've done 9 times, so I think I'm justified in saying that. And the time of this corresponds with my youngest turning 18, which is a real big deal for a lot of reasons. And she has Down syndrome, and we're doing all kinds of extra stuff like SSI and this huge shifting things that are going on in our family, and a lot of personal attacks that are happening to me. So this has been a really tumultuous time, but I feel like it's almost like it's going to be coming out of it. It's going to be amazing. I just have to hang on and really focus on what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, well done. Well, thank you so much. Thanks so much for being part of the program. Thanks for sharing that. I've often said, when we think of kind of the chaos, my mind kind of always goes to the one of the ways that I've kind of pictured this is, if you are here in the on the physical plane, and you've gone through like a tornado, or you've gone through a hurricane, on the ground level, it is chaotic, right? Things are blowing all over, signs are going, roofs are being blown off, right? Cars are being tossed around. But if you go 35,000 feet up and you look down, it is precision.
Right.
It is highly organized.
You see those aerial photographs.
You see the aerial photo, and you see how how everything is being expressed perfectly by law. And you realize, at a higher level, there is order.
Yeah.
And so, can we kind of be in the midst of that chaos and at the same time keep our awareness attached to the source of that order?
Yeah.
And I think that's what Joe's talking about is really, in this time, being able to kind of trust God.
Yeah.
And the order through which God's established the universe. Yeah.
I went scuba diving years ago in Zanzibar, and I just loved it. It's the only time I've really been. And did the course, and then went on like an open dive. And we went out, and it was really rough. And so we were like on the boat going out, with and it's like, oh my goodness, I was going to be sick. And he said, don't worry. Once you get under the waves, then it's amazing. You kind of jump off the boat and you go down, and
10
it's
feet,
just calm.
It's perfect.
Yeah. Really, really interesting that, underneath, even though it's all on the surface, it seems crazy. Yeah. Once you kind of go underneath, it's calm.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
So Susan says people are asking about when does the offer run out. So I think the special pricing runs out at the end of the program, doesn't it? The 99. Then it goes to the retail price of $199.
Right.
And then 72 hours after that, the license runs out, I think.
Okay.
So it's 72 hours after the end of the program for people to jump into the license if they want.
Super. Okay.
Okay, let's go to
stretch just a bit.
Melissa.
Okay.
You okay?
Yeah.
You need to walk around?
Yeah,
or?
no, I just need to stretch my leg. Yeah. Melissa.
Hey, Melissa.
Hey, Melissa.
Good morning. How are you?
Great.
From Northern California.
Great to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for the study. It's been a true blessing in my life. And so I'll just get right to the point. I got to a point where I could just write it down. As a result of this study and everything that came before it, and during this morning's meditation and walk, I got the understanding that my Heavenly Father is teaching me stillness in the midst of chaos that comes with the invitation to co-create my becoming in the way I respond to the conditions and circumstances of my life. total mental shift that I got it, and it's been a journey. It's been a journey, and I'm just grateful. And I bought the license. I'm going to teach it.
Right
and I just
on.
want to say thank you. For the longest time, I had prayed for mentors, and I was so blessed to get 5. And I was really seeking spiritual understanding, spiritual growth, just because some of the things that was going on in my life. And I used to get on to some of the JMT calls, and initially the leadership lane and your lane, Paul. And I was really seeking the spiritual part, and I was afraid to ask questions about spirituality. And eventually I got connected to empowerment mentoring, where I just felt such a freedom and just fulfillment and just getting greater understanding. But I want to say thank you to you both. And Roddy, I will get back with you, but you're giving me so much understanding of a question I asked in my adolescence about why I was in the world and why I thought the way that I thought, and what his thinking was on a lot of matters, and why the world is the way it is. It wound me. Eventually, I went to school and dabbled in learning ethnic studies, and then child development and human development and sociology. And then I got interested in mental science. And a few years later, I got connected to the John Maxwell team, and going through the Think and Grow Rich and the Think and Grow Rich Live and all of your studies, it's given me so much more understanding. It's almost like the circle is complete. And I just want to say thank you. And JMT is a dream come true, and part of my purpose of creating environments and a world where people acknowledge, respect, and love one another in the purest sense of the word, the agape love, and to build bridges between people, communities, and nations. And so thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa,
for not aborting your idea, Paul. And thank you for both of you for helping me to become who I'm supposed to be.
Right on.
So thank you so much.
Right on.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa. What a great insight, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And isn't it amazing to see, there's people from all over the world, and for most of us, I mean, I think I can say this, for most of us, we're all in adulthood, right? And we're still learning, right? We're still coming to these new awarenesses about ourselves.
Right.
And I think the takeaway for me on that is it's given me an opportunity to recognize, I don't need to be judging anybody. Right.
You've got plenty to be going on with.
I've got lots going on for me. I mean, just fixing me is the full-time project.
Yeah, right.
Let alone me, and I'm still learning. If I'm still learning what I'm learning about me,
right?
How could I possibly know what somebody else's intent was or somebody else's story? I don't know that whole story.
Yeah. It doesn't stop us projecting, though,
no,
does it? Very often.
No,
it's like,
but what this study does, and I think what Melissa is sharing is that when you wake up to this, you realize, hold on, let me focus. Let me get my first, let me get the first circle right, which is me, you know, and my relationship with God. And if we do that, we realize, oh my goodness, there's a lifetime of learning here.
Right. There really is. Know thyself is an endless lifetime, isn't it?
Yeah.
And not just know thyself, maybe to add to Socrates' wisdom, change thyself as well. I think you missed that off. Know thyself and then change thyself.
Socrates,
yeah.
So you've rewritten James, you've rewritten James Allen and Socrates all in one morning.
Yeah. It's been a good day.
Can I rub your head? Can I just feel it?
Okay, thanks, Melissa. Thanks for sharing. Okay, let's go to...
How are we doing on time? What time are we going to?
We got another 30 minutes.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you read that?
There's glasses right here.
They're not my glasses, though.
I know, but you can, there you go.
And maybe Heta?
Okay.
Might not be labelled quite right. Hey, who's this?
Yes, this is Hedda.
Hey, Hedda, how are you?
How are you doing, Hedda?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Wonderful,
Great.
thanks.
Thanks for joining us today.
All right. Thank you. So I have a question. Here's my question. As I go through you guys study and I started this personal growth journey and personal development since 2015. And I've noticed what I've learned about myself is that I keep wanting more. I'm at a point in my life where I question myself for the last couple months and do a lot of self-reflection and wanting to know, why can I not settle with where I am at this point in my life? I have a career that, gives me a decent salary. I like the people I work with. I have a wonderful boss who invested so much in my leadership growth. She gives me opportunity to, conduct mastermind classes, with our department, people in the department. But it's like I keep wanting more. I pray every day and ask God. I said, you know what, God, I'm about to be 52 this year, and I said, God, for the second half of my life, just use my life to make a difference in other people's lives. But, I don't want to be, and so I try to change my thought and say, what are you grateful for? I have the house, I have American dream. I'm from a different country, moved here when I was 16, joined the Army, know nothing about that. I'm a first generation graduate from my family. But it's like, I keep wanting more. And I ran into Melanie the other day and I said, Melanie, why can I not settle with where I am at this point in my life? Because some people would love to have what I have right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we got
my disc. I took the disc, and I'm a DC, and she said, "You'll never settle. You always want more." And I don't, and I struggle with that.
Sure. So I think what we want to understand is why do you want more? And I think you want more because it's an expression of spirit. As a spiritual being, you'll always seek fuller expression and fuller expansion. So you will always want to be, do, and have more. You always want to seek more life. That's the nature of the essence of who you truly are as a spiritual being. Also, I think we should always be grateful for what we have, as you said, but never satisfied. You said, I have a decent income. Well, that's good that you have a decent income, but did God create you to have a decent income? Or did God create you for more? And you said, you've kind of asked God to kind of use you and to kind of, give you kind of this wisdom and this insight so that you can make a bigger difference in other people's life. And maybe God's calling you to be more so that you can give more. You cannot give that which you don't have. And so perhaps God's plan for you is exactly what you're praying for. If you're praying that God should, increase your territory and increase your influence so that you can make a greater impact and serve more people, then maybe God's saying, okay, you've got to up your game. You've got to grow. And part of that growth is, one of the ways that we grow is through our desire, right? Desire is the effort of an unexpressed possibility within us, seeking expression within through us. And so perhaps there's a desire, that's being birthed. There's an emerging future for you. And so I think we want to try to enjoy where we're at for that moment, and then recognize there's the next step. I mean, Roddy and I, we did Think and Grow Rich. By far, it was our biggest and most successful program we had ever had. We launched that program, and overnight, tens and tens of thousands of people from all over the world were connected. And we could have high-fived and said that was great, and now we've arrived, we've met kind of our goal. And what happened was another idea came and said, you know what, we should go back to Aamt. It's been years since we've done that. Let's do that study. And we wanted more. We wanted to be and do and have more. We wanted to bring more out. We wanted to share more. We wanted to give more. And I have a feeling that, as soon as this one's done, and when I know
we're already on the next one.
We are all.
Yeah.
We are almost.
Yeah.
Well, we are not almost. We already are on the next one. We already kind of got an idea of what we want to do next, and I think that's a very natural expression. And so I think what you want to do is I think you want to take control of that energy, right?
Yeah.
You want to direct it. You don't want it to come at you or happen to you. You do want it to come through and with you.
Yeah, I forget which lesson it was. It might have been character part 2. Do you remember we put the...
you're always going character, aren't you?
The diagram where the ego diminishes as spirit goes up. It depends where the drive is coming from, because I always think a squirrel is a good example. A squirrel will endlessly collect nuts. It doesn't matter how many it's got or
Always
how many it's going to
wants
need.
more,
It's that relentless kind of, you could say greed. It's not greed because it's just its
instinct.
Yeah. It will just keep collecting nuts and it will never have enough. The pile will never be big enough. So I think there is an energy within us. It depends what the motivation behind wanting more is, isn't it? Because if you want to outcompete other people, that may not be a healthy drive. It may be, that you're expressing yourself more and more and getting better and better at it. But if it's driven by, I want to win
or dominate someone else.
Yeah, exactly. It might not be completely healthy, but it might be. It might be great that you want to do more and earn more. And if the rest of your life is in balance and it's not taking this or in harmony, this is not, taking over, then it might be very healthy. And my hope is, for me and for everyone, is that we all keep growing until we die, which is, we want more and more and more and more growth in a healthy way.
And I think, the fact that you've invited God into this conversation says a lot
about
you.
you.
Yeah. It says a lot about
it's coming from the top.
Yeah. It seems to be a healthy dose. So, I don't know that you're ever going to settle. Something tells me that God's got big plans for you, and you got big plans for you too. So, hey, look, again, if you'd like to be a teacher, if you'd like to join our teaching team and bring this material to other parts of the world, and bring this into your circle of influence, we'd love to equip you with all the resources necessary to do that, all the teaching scripts, all the summary video scripts, all of our marketing, and being able to have access to our license holder hub calls that happen every other week where we'll show you what we're doing and how we've done what we've done.
We're getting better and better at helping you, actually, as we go on. I think the summary videos, I know it's kind of like my pet project, the summary videos, but that's a good example. We used to do whiteboard videos, and we would give the scripts for the whiteboard videos, but some people loved it and could do it. Like Daniela, for example, does it very well. Some people struggle with that. So then we changed to the doodly things, but to try and record your voice with the video is tricky. So breaking it down into PowerPoint so that you can put a PowerPoint up and read a script and just click through, and then it just makes it easier. So we're getting better and better at helping you in all those ways.
And it's a $300 investment,
right?
And to add this to your body of work, if you're already a speaker or a coach, I mean, it really is a no-brainer. Your clients will love it. And if you've ever thought about being a speaker or a coach or a trainer, this is a great entryway to start with this program. And so,
great.
Let's
Thanks,
go.
Hedda.
Yeah, we've got about 15 more minutes, so
we can get through the remaining people. Yeah. So, Carla, I think. Hey, Carla.
Hey, actually, this is Chris. And
hey, Chris.
Hey, Paul and Roddy. This is Chris with the John Maxwell team. How are you doing today?
Good. Real good, Chris. How are you?
Hey, Chris.
Very, very good.
Love it. Well done.
Thank you. I'm looking through this chart on page 24 in the As a Man Thinketh. You've actually answered most of my questions, throughout this whole thing, but I think what my biggest question now is, it's funny, when you write down questions and they're answered, you got to go to another question, right? So
kind of like objections, right, Chris?
What's that?
I said it's kind of like objections in the buyer, right? They kind of hop.
Yeah. A tad bit, yes. So I'm looking at the chart, and the first thing, I mean, you know my history, and we've been through a lot, so don't have to rehash any of that. And I've been everywhere on this chart in my life in one form or another. But I have never, ever been in all segments of my life at level 7, which is the joyful soul, unconditional love, except I've been there on occasion in certain segments of my life, but never in all segments of my life all at the same time. How does one achieve that outside of being Jesus Christ?
Yeah, I think once you get there, you leave. I think once you reach there, you're no longer on the big blue rock. I think we do at times in different areas of our life reach it. But, as you said, Jesus lives from this place. I think maybe what you can do, Roddy, is just share from what Hawkins would say is this kind of calibrating at 1,000 and kind of
1,000 would be a little higher up. This was we kind of left it here as a kind of a realistic goal for a lifetime. So
for a lifetime.
His research would be like 1 in 250 people would kind of reach this kind of level, something like that. So but I agree with you. We all jump around all over the place, don't we? But if we can progressively, gradually move up, then.
And I think what also happens, Chris, is that when we look at level 7 as an example, a joyful soul or unconditional love or accepting and loving and forgiving or being perfect or oneness with God, once we reach that level, doesn't our awareness of more happen? We were just talking to our last caller about, there's a desire then for more, because once you become this joyful soul, don't you raise your level of awareness of even more ways that you can express that? Once you find unconditional love, don't you find more ways for you to be unconditional loving? And so, I think it's that thing for us to continually strive for.
Yeah.
Not necessarily arrive, attain, and hold territory on. I think it's going to be ever expanding territory.
Yeah.
So as you said,
well, I do have a second question too.
Okay.
I've noticed that my energy levels are not exactly high, and I looked at this chart and I started judging myself in a big way, and which is not a really good thing, is it? No. So I noticed that my energy levels are low, but I guess that's a comparative thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It sure is. I mean, compared to compared to who or to what, right? And certainly, we don't want to enter into a judgment, right? We want to use this as an awareness tool, not a judgment tool. And so, when you look and define your energy as low, you want to ask yourself, how can I move low energy into creative energy? What would be one thing that I could do? What's one thing that I can control? And again, it's amazing that when we grow, we teach that there's no private good, right? So when you grow in awareness and an expression in one area of your life, it begins to be expressed in other areas of your life. How one person, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so I think what I would do, Chris, is I would identify, that area where you might be in low energy, where you can affect change. Where's one area where you could begin to take some territory and begin to move to creative energy and work in that one area. And I think what you'll see is an awareness of how to operate that way in other areas will open up.
Yeah, I think it's a part of getting older, isn't it? You've got less energy when you're 70 than you have when you're 17.
Sure.
But you can still waste energy when you're 17, and you can waste energy when you're 70. You can exhaust yourself, or you can, relax and
it's interesting because if we were to talk to a scientist, they would tell us that all we are, Chris, is a massive energy, right? All you are is energy. So when somebody says, I don't have any energy, you're thinking, hold it, all you are is energy.
Right.
And so it's impossible for you to not have energy and not to be expressing energy. So, one of the things we know is that when we express energy, we actually get more energy. I know there's days where I'm tired, and then I go to the stairwell to do my workout, and I do the workout, and I actually feel energized from doing it. You hear about athletes all the time. People who run marathons will say when they're training for a marathon, they run 7 or 10 or 12 miles a day, at the end of the run, they actually feel euphoric and more energy.
Yeah.
And so, I think there's a couple of things that, you want to look at. One is you always want to make sure that the starting point of all this is, am I healthy, right? And going, especially if you're a man and you're over 50, I think what you want to do is you want to go to a really good doctor. You want to get a really good blood profile done. And you want to find out where you are on that testosterone level, right? That hormone that gives a man energy, right? And so you want to look at that. And, if your hormone levels are down, there's ways that you can supplement that and increase that testosterone level. So you want to first make sure that you're healthy. And then second is you want to look at, what am I doing for exercise? How am I expressing energy? Am I walking? Am I working out? And certainly, again, for men over 50, I know there's lots of men over 50 who have, these watches where they try to walk 10,000 steps in a day, but that's really not working out. I mean, if you talk to any true, like I was just with Tony Horton, probably the #1 fitness guru in the world, and he's saying to me that if you are not doing 30 minutes, where at the end of that 30 minutes, you're what he calls a flop sweat, where you're dripping from head to toe, that's a workout.
Yeah.
Everything else is a warm up.
It's better than doing nothing, though. It's just walking is great. We're not saying don't walk.
I'm not
Keep
saying
walking,
that. I'm saying you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But the goal is to get to a point where what I'm saying is that most people quit because they think, okay, I've done
I've done it.
Yeah, and that's really not where you need to be. You really need to. You really need to push, right? As we get older, gravity is our worst enemy, right? We're fighting gravity. And so, I think getting a really good physical, getting a good blood panel, and then looking at your daily habits and how can you begin to express
And can I
energy.
add one to that as well? Learn to relax. How's your relaxing and letting go? Because hanging on to stress and being kind of frantic too much is exhausting in itself. And if you can learn to relax, get good at relaxing, have that as part of a daily habit, that makes an enormous difference.
Yeah, I mean, we know that when we release, when we're worried and we're stressful, we release cortisol, which creates fat around our center.
Yeah.
Which that's terrible fat for our heart.
Yeah.
And so lots of things that we can do, but I think the starting point is
go to the doctor.
Go to the doctor, get a really good physical, a really good workout, check up, and then find the safe regimen that would lead you to kind of a lifetime commitment. And, it's really interesting that I found is that, it starts maybe with 5 or 10 minutes and then it grows and then it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. And for me, it's really just 30 minutes. Yeah. If you do it 30 minutes a day, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Thanks, Chris. Okay, let's go to Joanna.
Yeah.
Hey, Joanna.
Hi, Paul and Roddy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great. So I won't keep you long. I tried to write everything down. So I have one aha moment and one point that's puzzling me. First of all, my favorite one was the 7 levels of character, which was really revealing to me. And I listened and absorbed from a totally different level of awareness. The point that I clicked and was aha is that in the past, I don't even use the word not adapt till now because I'm past it now. I used to do everything alone, and that was and I didn't express myself and share with other people, and that was because I wanted to get better and improve. And now my awareness has grown to the way of thinking that I want to take others with me in this endless and exciting growth journey while, and this is the word that I have underlined, while I grow and improve myself. Because I feel now, and it's clear in me, that the world needs to hear my voice, my unique way of sharing, and how could I ever deprived others around me from sharing my material, my story, and inspire them and help them to grow.
Perfect.
So that was my statement and my aha.
And then you said you had one thing that was puzzling you. What was that?
Yeah, and the thing that puzzles me, and I haven't figured out yet, is what you said about love. that we have to love ourselves more before we love others. And I really thought that I had got that, and it was clear on me, and I haven't figured out that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of those things we continue to, the more you go, the deeper you go, the more understanding you come to. And it's a beautiful journey, right? Because it is a process of unfoldment.
Right.
Your awareness continues to expand. It's energy, right? And it continues to expand and expand and expand. And just when you think you got it, there's another layer.
Yeah. Actually,
thank you, Joanna. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joanna.
Who's our next?
Larry?
Hey, Larry.
Hey, Larry.
Oh, hi, Roddy and Paul. This is Deb Waffle.
Hey, Deb. Peppermint Deb.
Yeah.
Larry's my husband.
How are you?
Can you hear me okay? I'm
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
I'm in the car, so am I coming through okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect.
I wanted to tell you I did your relaxation exercise yesterday with the lesson before the last.
Oh, yes.
And, I'd had this gnawing, prolonged pain in my neck and shoulders. Couldn't even get comfortable, but I did it. And, oh my gosh, it relieved that pain and tension in my neck. And so my question was, should I cancel my chiropractor appointment Monday? That's a joke. It's not really my question, and I woke up this morning with more creative energy, less pain in my whole body. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Oh, great.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Well done.
Lovely
Yeah,
share.
thank you. It's amazing how relaxation, right? How the mind-body connection is theirs.
For sure, yeah.
So we have one more, last one?
Yep, last one.
Okay, last one. Welcome.
Hey, Maria.
Hey, Maria.
Is it Maria? I think it's Mia.
Mia.
It's like it says Maria.
Mia.
I thought that was you. Let's change this. This is spelled wrong. How are you?
How you doing, Mia?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, this study has been just so mind blowing. I have too many aha moments to share, but I'll be brief about it. I thought about this really, and I feel like a word that's coming into my awareness right now is that I just feel like I'm growing organically. Ever since I had that conversation with you guys about feeling stuck and like having this perfectionist mindset and like wanting to progress. I just wrote it down and I said, I'm going to give my dream just really a chance to live. And it's been living and growing. And so I just wanted to really share that that's been a breakthrough because by letting go some of that perfectionist mindset, that the resources have been attracting to me rather than forcing it. And how you always say, Paul, that force negates.
Yeah.
And so now I have a greater cause behind actually the work that I'm working on with, health and wellness and mindset. And, when you had mentioned earlier, like just looking at it from the perspective of rather than being against something, like I'm seeing that there's stuff that's happening in our environment that's really causing our food, to go bad, just like this toxic pesticides and sprays, that it really kind of shifted my perspective even just today when you said, don't be against something, promote something more so out of love because it's a higher energy source. So rather than saying something like banning glyphosate, that we should really love our environment and harvest the good and grow organically there. So, I guess I just wanted to really say that I'm just excited. I am really at the state of moving more into trying to move into being versus actually doing, and I see more flow just coming into my life. I mean, on so many levels, spiritually, my relationship with my mom, my health. I'm actually even digging even deeper into my workouts, and I'm not just going to the surface. I'm really digging deeper, and this has just been so helpful. So thank you.
Right on. Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
Mia.
Yeah. I know Mia's been, just on a health journey for a long time and she teaches that and trains people in that. And again, you find that there's more ways to express it, right?
Yeah.
And continue. I think that's probably the story of today's call is that, we are working with energy, right? And our ideas are energy. Our body temples are energy. And all we are is energy. And we get to choose, as a man thinketh, we get to choose how we express that energy. Right. And where we get to direct that energy, right, to its highest good. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
And again, the license is now available for a limited time. Click on the link below. There's a link in the comments section, I'm sure, if you'd like to get more of the information. So thank you. Thank you to Heather and Susan and Holly and Andrew. You guys make us better. And thank you so much to our friends in France and our French and Spanish
speaking
and Romanian and Italian and, oh my goodness, all over
everyone
the world.
around the world. Yeah.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. God bless.